Good evening, TheoTrade. This is Corey Rosenblum, and you're watching the Theo Nightly video for July 18, 2023, and it's another update in the market as the daily chart uptrend continues to a new 52-week high in the broader market. That includes the S&P, that includes the SPX, of course that includes the Nasdaq, and just as a note, the biggest gainer of the year, at least in terms of the equity futures, is the Nasdaq, up about 40% in the first few months here, halfway through 2023. And that's mainly on the back of technology stocks and a little caveat, not only technology, but artificial intelligence. So everything else is, at least across the board, not as bullish. That includes multiple sectors, the Dow and the Russell, not up at those 52-week highs. But it is the focus, and that is what the news and the headlines and a lot of trades are hedging on, which is this ongoing rally and relative strength in these stocks. And that does include XLK. XLK is an ETF that centers mostly on these stocks. If you ever want to take a peek inside of those ETFs and what they are, what the diversification is, or should we say lack thereof, Apple is 23% of the XLK, Microsoft 22%, Nvidia at 5%. And on the XLY is considered a retail or discretionary, and that's going to be Amazon holds the leading spot, 22%, but then right behind that is Tesla. Why does that matter? Because this is not diversified, and it does get us into the situation where we have leading stocks that are big market cap names, and one or two of those stocks can dictate the entirety of the order flow, especially when it's one that is as big as Microsoft. Microsoft's not the biggest stock, Apple is, but nonetheless, Microsoft being up as high as it was, ending the session up about 4%, was up 6% before the close. So that's what we'll focus on and the bigger picture. Now we'll talk about a couple things. Number one, the ongoing relative strength and the bullishness in the tech sector. But in Microsoft, again, up about 4-5% in today's session. Strong gets stronger. There's the uptrend in price. But other stocks such as Netflix, which while we focus on Microsoft and we focus on the artificial intelligence names, that would include Nvidia and some of the others, plenty of others. Meta is part of that AI type of world and the headlines and the bullishness. But Netflix is as well. Not an AI company, but a media and technology company. But it does fall under the category of strong getting stronger. And let's talk about earnings. In the next few trading sessions, by the way, Netflix is up about 70% on the year. So coming up, not to be outdone, beyond the technology sector names, let's look at a few. This is from today's presentation on the week ahead. So in the week ahead, what do we have? We had retail sales, industrial production, we had earnings from financial companies, and despite all the headlines, I know even I'm focusing on technology companies, financials were among, and in fact by the close of the session, the leading or the strongest sector right there with technology being Microsoft. But outside of that, financials were up on today's session, up over 1%. And that's on the back of some leading stocks, or at least some bullish stocks, that had earnings releases. That includes Morgan Stanley, which is up randomly about 6%. That's the strongest stock. You heard all the headlines and all the discussion about Microsoft. Actually, Morgan Stanley, MS, not Microsoft, another MS, was the number one gaining stock, and it's a simple rally off support, a stock, a swing stock we had discussed on a support bounce with a financial lean or financial sector. Morgan Stanley, earnings play, sure, is actually the strongest stock. Right behind it, let's skip over Netflix, is another financial stock with earnings, that's Bank of America. And then we'll have BK. BK's not Burger King, it is Bank of New York Mellon. Similarly, coming up from support. And an earnings play taking place tomorrow will be USB, US Bancorp, and then Goldman Sachs, also coming up from support, something we discussed in my prior session about a bull type of trade from Goldman Sachs from 310 and it's already through the target being the middle, and possibly even higher. We'll see on earnings. So back to our earnings coming up. It's a big one. It's a really big one, and it's Tesla. So back to the charts. We'll look at Tesla. In fact, we'll do it this way. Stocks that have earnings today were right here. Stocks that have earnings tomorrow include Goldman Sachs, US Bancorp, and we'll look at others, including Netflix. These are two before the market. Goldman Sachs, USB before the market, Netflix, Tesla, IBM after the market. So let's see just a quick look. I think Netflix will be one to watch in terms of its expected move for tomorrow's session. Now, this is currently a Tuesday. The earnings come out on a Wednesday, so we're looking at the Friday expiration. So a little bit of nuance there. Nonetheless, the expected move is $41 with an implied volatility of 121%. That means that Netflix shares can move $41 up or down. What does that look like on the chart for our expected moves? So for the sake of tonight's video, we'll just do a quick glance. We'll actually pull the hourly chart here, and we'll see what $41 is for Netflix. So we'll take the close. We'll do this for tomorrow's session, not necessarily today. So $41 up puts it possibly to about the 515 per share level, and down $41. This is how we play expected move. Would be roughly here at the let's say 435. Again, one day to go, and Netflix will report earnings after the bell, but that's the logic of expected move. Get an updated number after the close or before the close tomorrow. That is Netflix. Tesla has some pre-market or pre-earnings bullishness. It has 100% implied volatility also for the Friday upcoming option. $23 up and down for Tesla. And for the sake of tonight's video, we won't do too much on that. But just to make a note, 20 some odd dollars would be about $313. And take that same number, $23. Take that down from the current price, and that'll be roughly $267. Again, let that be updated in the afternoon session on Wednesday. Those two stocks can have a lot of weight or can have a lot of influence over the market. Tesla, yes. Netflix, not as much. Remember, Microsoft and other stocks have much, much, much larger market caps, including Meta and Amazon. But those stocks are up. We know Microsoft is up because of AI. Tesla is up because of a truck, or at least some positive expectation of their sales and some things that they're releasing on their products. Netflix is up. Your guess is as good as mine. Nonetheless, Netflix is one of the leading stocks in today's session, and that did affect the Nasdaq, which was a strong market move. It was weak, but with Microsoft, and that's one to watch at the end of the session. It might not look as impressive, but on the intraday chart, it certainly was. And that is strictly news about their Azure, or about their $30 a month, incorporating artificial intelligence into Excel and PowerPoint and Word and their other suites of products. And that is expected to bring in lots of other revenue in the future. And that did send the stock price up. That sent the Nasdaq up. And of course, that sent the XLK to the upside as well. All of it is tied together. Now, as we continue, what else is happening? Housing starts on Wednesday. U.S. Philly Fed, which is just a measure of some economic activity. Nothing much outside of those. But then we'll have Johnson & Johnson, Intuitive Surgical, Capital One Financial, look at Philip Morris and a few others. And we'll see American Express, Schlumberger on Friday. So those will all be stock plays if you want to play butterflies or any particular type of earnings trades. Again, the TheoTrade logic on butterflies or earnings will be your trade strategy. Otherwise, no swing trades right before and directly after earnings. Keep watch on these expected moves and the influence of some of these monsters of tech on the index. It is worth noting that in the Russell, there is not a single stock that dominates the Russell. like we see in the Nasdaq. So the Russell is the small cap index, and you can see how it is performing and trading. It's been on the buy side, it's been a little stronger, and we can see that on the daily chart. While the Nasdaq pierces and runs higher, 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 the Russell simply traded from underneath a support level in a trading range that's roughly 1750 back to the high. To me, that is a range that is high to low, low to mid, low to high, and just recently a low to high. Nothing out of the ordinary, nothing breaking the distribution, little probability distribution, where short or bear type of trades are favored above, bull or long type of trades are favored beneath. What is it favored beneath and above? The mean being the average, or the midpoint, roughly 18 and 75 for the small cap index. So it isn't all bullish, but it certainly feels that way if your perspective is limited to the 6 stocks, even fewer than that, and the Nasdaq and the XLK. But that's only one of the sectors. There are 9, and of course the 4 equity futures. Nasdaq is only one of them. And in the broader S&P, yes, we have stocks making new 52-week highs, Microsoft being number 1, but JP Morgan, Berkshire Hathaway, Adobe, Linde, Booking, and FedEx all made 52-week highs. I'm skipping Netflix because it's going to fall under that technology or retail category. We'll see how the earnings go and how the plays turn out and how it affects the indices going forward. As always, be careful and safe. This is Corey Rosenblum with tonight's Theo video update for July 18th, 2023.